behalf of the New York Film Academy, we would like to thank you for spending a little bit of your time with
Absolutely,
us.
absolutely. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. The very first question that I have for you is in regards to the score and music in your films. It almost seems to take on a character of its own. Is this intentional? Is the use of score intentional? And did you mean it to be its own character, or is it just sort of play with the film?
God, I hope so, man. I really hope so. Music, the nature of music, what it does for films, is enhance the scenes, okay? And for The Thing, the music was done by Ennio Morricone. He's a rather famous composer. I don't know if you guys know him. The spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood and Once Upon a Time in the West were scored by him. He's an incredible artist and composer. And I had a chance to work with him on this, and he was just brilliant. And his job is to narrate and characterize and provide a sensuality to the film through music. That's his whole job. And anytime I do music myself, all I do is accentuate the scenes and make them work. Try to cover up the fuck-ups that I do as a director through music.
And second question as well. When The Thing was released in 1982, it wasn't received well by the critics.
Tanked.
Here's my question. 30 years later, nearly 30 years later, do you feel somewhat vindicated, or did you feel the need for vindication was ever even there?
Oh, man, I don't know how to answer that. If The Thing was not a commercial nor critical success when it was released the summer of '82 when when this same studio released E.T., and everybody wanted an up cry. They didn't want a downbeat, end of the world type deal. And I think the fans, the horror science fiction fans, turned on the film pretty severely because they thought I raped a classic, the original Thing from Another World, Christian Nyby, Howard Hawks picture. Anyway, I didn't recover from the disaster of that movie for quite a while.
And Starman was a result of that, correct?
Kinda, yeah.
And what was your experience working on a film that was just so opposite of what your genre had been?
It's always the same. It's interior or exterior. It's day or night, depending on how many actors you have, how difficult are they, when's lunch, and when do we wrap. All movies are basically the same.
Right. Now, also your use of cast. Reuben Cannon was instrumental in both of our careers very early. He actually cast me in my first job in '74, and you also worked with him early as well. How important is the casting process in your films?
Well, casting is when you get the right actor to play in a movie, in your movie, that an actor who has talent and fits the roles that you've got it made. And Reuben Cannon was a genius at casting. It was just unbelievable. He's now a big-time producer.
With Tyler Perry.
Big-time producer. I'm very happy for him. And you were a casting director, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
I see.
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm a member of the Actors Guild, and you never cast me for anything.
Your agent never submitted you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to open open it up to the audience for questions. For those of you guys that have questions, you want to just go ahead and follow over there? Yeah, straight over there.
So I can honestly see now why my mom never let me watch this as a kid, you know. I mean, I'm like, Mom, he only directs Starman and Big Trouble in Little China. What's up? So
you still are a kid, young man.
Thank you. One of the things I wanted to find out from you is when you started out with smaller projects, as they got bigger, what were some of the challenges that you had to face with people, the amount that you had to deal with, and just the overall pressures of bigger movies?
All of it. Everything you just said gets compounded. The minute you move out of a small project that you control, if you write it and you direct it and maybe you produce it, and you hit up your friends and your family for the budget, and you get something because you want to make a Hollywood movie or you want to make a feature film. The minute that you start dealing with Hollywood, or well, I say the movie business, is the minute you start learning what it's all about, because people are putting up money to make money. So the pressure on you is to deliver some bucks for them.
How did you deal with some of the pressures?
Not well. Oh, I don't know how to tell you that. There's nobody teaches that. And I went to USC film school way back when, and they didn't teach us that part. They didn't teach us how to deal with stress. They just assumed that you're going to kind of bring that along with you. And nowadays, you guys, when you guys get your first feature, unless it's a big hit, I worry for you because they don't give you any time to mature as a filmmaker. It's one time and out. It's really ruthless these days. Yeah. So good luck. I want to see all of you become rich and on making movies, and then send me a check. That's what I want from you all. There's no way to explain it. You know, every decision you make gets questioned, unless you kind of maneuver your way through that and try to gouge out a space for yourself, or make them afraid of you, where they're afraid to ask you to do anything. They're afraid to come down on you. And that's real hard to do. It's very tricky. Everybody faces this. And wait till you get into a cast member who wants to control the film, wants to control your movie, tell you what to do. And you can't live without this cast member. And the first time, an actor is so powerful 2 weeks into a shoot, because you can't fire him, because you've shot all this footage on him. So he starts making demands, or she starts making demands, and you're fucked. Big time. So, but it's all fine. Don't worry about a thing. It'll all work.
Well, I just also want to say, first time I saw this movie, I loved it. I thought it was great. So thank you very much.
You're a genius. Thank you very much.
Hey, how's it going, Mr. Carpenter?
It's going okay.
Good, good. Just let me first say, you probably get this all the time, but your movies are a huge part of my youth. Big Trouble in China, first time I saw it, I was 8 years old, just blew me away.
You were 8? Wow.
Yeah. My parents are actually the exact opposite of his. They let me see whatever when I was younger. So
very good.
I know, right?
Very good.
But I have a lot of questions, but I guess pertaining to this, it would be about creature effects. How does so when you go in, do you have a preconception of what you want to see when you talk to your makeup artist or whoever it is that you're going to be talking to that's going to be doing the stuff for you? Or is it more kind of like jazz? Like, do you kind of riff off each other and that type of thing? And also, just one more question. I don't know if you can say anything about it or not, but the Thing prequel, is that going to be a prequel to your universe?
Yes, it is. It's already shot. It's about the Norwegian camp.
Okay, cool.
It's their story. It has a chick in it, too.
Yes.
In terms of special makeup effects, it depends on the project that you're doing, and it depends on the story. In the case of The Thing, the creature was very ill-defined in its screenplay and in everybody's thinking. Nobody knew what to do with it. And there's an old-fashioned idea, I guess it goes back to Val Lewton, that if you're going to make a movie about a monster, you never want to really see it. You want to keep it in the dark, because it's more effective that way. At least that's the thinking in kind of rich, liberal, middle-brow Hollywood. Don't show me anything that's terrible here, because that you can't do that. And I made the mistake of trying something different, which is to bring this thing out into the light and show it. And show it going through its gyrations in front of you because of the story. See, the story is about this creature, this alien who can imitate anything and has throughout his travels or her travels in the universe. So when it starts imitating to survive, it's going to start looking like the other creatures that it's imitated. And also it has no respect for the human form or body, so it's going to rip apart. Which I thought was, in the 1980s, there was a big, huge body culture going on, in America at least, maybe the world. There's a lot of the Jane Fonda workout. Everybody got concerned about how they looked, their bodies, and how thin they were, and it was huge. And I thought, well, this is a great time to just kind of take that and go, fuck you. let me disturb you on a basic level here about the way you look and about your body, because really nobody gives a shit about it. But the thought was, that was the thought. Rob Bottin was my special effects coordinator and creator, and he said it can look like anything. So let's make stuff that looks amazing. So I had a whole raft of designers just designing art. And it went from everything. There's one scene that looks like a flower, and another scene is, of course, this guy's head comes off, which is my favorite scene in the film.
Oh yeah.
But we did it, and the audiences went and hated it. And years later, everybody's going, ooh and ah, but that's, that's the way it goes. What was your other question? I forget now.
Oh, it was just about the Thing prequel. The
prequel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. They didn't ask me anything. They didn't pay me anything, so I don't care.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And you're a good man for liking Big Trouble in Little China.
Hey, I think everybody in here loves it.
Hey, John. My question's about Halloween, my personal favorite of your films. When you were doing Halloween, did you ever think or expect it to blow up and become such a big franchise as it did?
No, we had no clue. We're just a bunch of kids making a movie. We had been making an exploitation horror film. Back in those days, indies were not art house films. They were really exploitation films, action or horror or science fiction. They were little movies that a company could bicycle around the country from one city to another. And that guy actually make some money on it. And no, we had no idea. Nobody did. Nobody did. We're just having a good time making movies. We're young, had hair. It was great.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
It was a $320,000 budget.
Something like that.
45 million domestic box office. Not a bad profit margin there.
Hey there. I was wondering, what is it about horror that interests you above all other genres? And also, what films and filmmakers inspired you as a youth?
Well, you have to understand that horror found me. I didn't find it. I got typecast into this. I got into this business to make Westerns. Westerns died. The Westerns went away. And so horror found me with Halloween. It's a wonderful T-shirt that you're wearing, youngster.
Thank you.
It found me with that movie. And what happens in Hollywood, you get typecast. Oh, he made that. Well, let's offer him this. It's the same thing. They want you to do the same thing again and again and make money at it. And but I've made a career out of it. I've got to become John Carpenter. What's wrong with that? I'm happy about it. My influences were science fiction and horror movies and westerns and musicals, everything, when I was growing up, back in the 50s. I loved movies. And then when I went to film school, and I got to watch the work of American classic directors, Orson Welles, Howard Hawks, John Ford, and then world directors. And that's where I really deepened my love for cinema.
Cool. Thank you.
Do you guys get to watch old movies? Oh, yeah. What do they, real old movies or like last year's movies? And what kind of stuff do you get to listen to? Watch.
The classics.
The classics. So you've heard of Citizen Kane, have you guys? Okay, fine. Okay. Hello, young lady.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. First of all, big fan. Thank you for all your great films.
Thank you.
And my question is, how do you feel about the horror film remake trend in Hollywood that's going on right now?
First of all, remakes in general are popular now because of the amount of money a company has to spend advertising to get people in the theaters. And one way to cut through the clutter of advertising that's out there is to come with a title in recent memory that they've heard of. So, for instance, all the horror remakes, maybe the thinking is maybe you saw it with your brother when you were young on home video, or you've seen it on television, and we're going to update it. So it has a built-in awareness which is the number that they're trying to reach, to get the audience, the customer out there aware that your movie is in the theaters. And it tends to be why they remake horror. Horror has, I'll say a word about horror. Horror has been with cinema since the very beginning. It grew up part and parcel with the image, with cinema. And it will always be with us. It's one of the most popular genres of all time. And it's an all-purpose genre because it keeps changing. Every culture, every few years, it morphs, it changes into something else. It brings the sensibilities of the age in which it's made, that's what's so fabulous. If you look at Frankenstein or Dracula or The Bride of Frankenstein, the Karloff films that were made at this studio, they're very much of the 30s and the Depression. They're Depression era movies. They're speaking to those audiences. But if you look at modern horror films, they're speaking to you guys. And they bring the sensibility that you've become used to seeing and you demand seeing in film.
Well, thank you.
Okay, where are you from?
Sweden.
Excellent work. Excellent.
All right, first off, I just want to thank you again for doing this and allowing this chance for all of us to pick your brain. So that's really awesome of you to do. I guess my question is, if you take the techniques and the technology that was around when you first started out and compare it to what's available today, along with like the streamlining processes and all that, do you feel that it helps your creativity or stifles it or both? And then how do you deal with that?
Well, that's a good question. Let me ask you a question. What's the streamlining process?
Well, I just mean like, if you look at even sports, you know, they find better techniques through medical technology for recovery and whatnot. So, I mean, you know, the whole process can be streamlined and a little bit more efficient.
You know, that's one thing I wish had changed about the movie business. That has never changed. It is a grind. It's a grind to make a film. To make a big film, it's a real grind. In terms of the technology of movie making, that constantly changes. And it's a tool. You guys got to look at it like a tool. It's something that can further your vision of whatever you're doing, whether it's a matte shot, or whether you're imagining some creature that's impossible, or whether you're imagining some world that you want to explore. The technology at your disposal now is like unlike anything that's ever been before. It's great. You guys are lucky. You're also lucky that you can buy or rent or get a hold of inexpensive equipment, and you can do it on digital and make your own damn movie. So we didn't have that when I was young. And you guys can watch movies. And you can watch old films. You can watch them on DVD, or you can watch them on whatever. You can watch them on your telephone, your iPhone. So you guys are really lucky. And I am envious of where you are and the time you've come along. But to answer your question, they've never improved. They've never streamlined the motion picture technique. They still do it on a board. They still figure out the shooting days on a board, whether it's a virtual board or actually they make one with strips. And it's an eighth of a page and half a page. You shoot 3.5 pages in a day. Can I get that done in the afternoon? They make you get up at, and show up at 7 in the morning. When no one's ready to do creative shit at 7 in the morning. I haven't even had coffee yet. And it's always the same. Then in television and some low budget films, they start the work week on Monday, 7 in the morning. And then during the week, they move the call time back. So on Friday, you're shooting nights. They do that because they can cheat you, because you don't have the time on the weekend to catch up on your rest to start again Monday. It's a grind. No one has fixed that. No one has made it better. And I don't understand why. The Directors Guild came up with years and years ago, tried to show the studios that if you work 3 or 4 days a week, you could get more done. Because the crew wouldn't be so tired. Because we've actually had deaths of people driving home after working 17, 18-hour days. They get into a car accident. And they didn't want to hear about it. Because they're geared to punish the filmmaker, No, they're not. But I'm saying that because it's awful. I don't know. Maybe you guys love to get up in the morning. I never did. I was always. So anyway, that would be if one of you could design a system of shooting a movie that wasn't this same old factory setup that we've had since the beginning of studios, and make it work and make it easier on people, you'd make millions of dollars, okay? And if you could figure out how to light a scene quicker, this was what I hoped when digital came in. I hoped that we wouldn't have to spend all the time we do on film lighting a scene. Why can't these cameramen come up with some simple techniques? Why do they have to have top light and backlight and side light? What is all that shit? Why do they look better? That's the other thing that really hasn't changed, some of the lighting schemes. There was a big change in the 70s when they did overhead lighting on the Godfather movies. They just used tarps and shoot through bed sheets and stuff like that, make it all come from overhead with shadows and faces. And nowadays you can work the contrast or the color or the exposure on a computer. So it's a lot simpler that way. And you kind of get the effect of that. But the basics of cinematography haven't changed. So anyway, I'm rambling on. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question. I apologize.
That's all right. I guess I'll use an example, Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but it also hurts me a little bit. So why
does it hurt you?
Well, with modern technology, with all the crazy special effects that are available now, how do you personally try not to lose yourself with the special effects and stay focused on the story? Just use them as a tool, you know what I mean? Because a lot of your films pioneered special effects back in the day. So how do you, when you do something nowadays, not go all crazy with that and still stay focused on the story?
Well, it depends on the story and the budget. Because if you focus only on making the special effects better every time, you're not going to make good movies. It depends on what the story requires. The story requires very little, you do very little. If your budget doesn't give you any money for it, then you just do that. Nowadays, they have 3D for you guys, so you spend more money and go to 3D movies. Up the budget and the grosses. Now, I don't know. Maybe you love 3D. I grew up in the first 3D craze in the early 50s, where the movies were competing with television. And I'm sorry, I didn't see Avatar in 3D. Maybe I missed something. I hear I did. I hear it's pretty spectacular. Wasn't so spectacular in 2D, but that's just me. That's just me. So how do you approach this? Every director approaches it differently. I think one of the best directors nowadays is David Fincher. I love the way he approaches. I love the way he approaches the technology in telling his stories. Of Benjamin Button, he used certain techniques. In his last film, which is basically a character piece, he used cinematic techniques in that. They were just really interesting work. So he's an example of somebody who has mastery of the technological aspects of filmmaking and also has an artistry. Thank you for the question, dude.
Yeah, no problem.
Youngster?
Hi, John.
How are you doing, man?
Good. Big fan. I wanted to ask your opinion on this constant, remaking phase that's going on right now, and what is your opinion of, the lack of original screenplays and stories in the film industry right now?
Well, there are still a lot of original ideas that come up and screenplays that come up. But once again, we're back to it's called show business. It's not called show art.
Right.
And show business, the way to get people in the theater is to, unless you're very lucky or very successful, like Jim Cameron can write his own movies and have Final Cut and get them in the theaters. If you're like the rest of us peons, you have to compete with other films that are out there. And one way of driving through to the audiences that are watching on television and wherever they're watching, that your movie's going to be playing is to do a remake, because the title's familiar. The title has awareness. When a movie's about to open, the biggest number a studio tracks is the awareness is the audience out there that you're trying to get in to see your film aware your movie's even opening? Do they know it? Do they know the title? And then you'd start dealing with whether they want to see it or not. But the big thing is to make them aware of it. And there's so many movies opening. I mean, look at the number of movies that open every weekend. And people, it's all a blur to them. Oh, maybe I want to see the Adam Sandler movie, but I don't care about this other one. So you're trying to penetrate this advertising fog, and that's one way of doing it. But there are still really fine, really creative movies being made now. Don't subscribe to that idea. It's all bullshit, and there's no even remakes. They'll just do a new take on something completely different. So anyway, that's the reason.
Got you. Thank you. And can I ask, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, anything about the remake for Escape from New York?
Well, I'm not allowed to give out certain details because they keep me in the dark.
That's no good.
But what is good is that my favorite part of this business, my absolute favorite part of this business, is that when somebody wants to remake one of my films, what I do is, if I've written it or originated the idea, I extend my hand like this, and they put a check right in my hand.
Can't beat that.
And I don't have to do anything. In my entire life, I've been trying to figure out how to make money at doing nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, Escape from New York is an absolute success. I heard they had a screenplay and a director they liked. And this was 6 months ago. And I said, can I read it? And they said, well, give us a couple of weeks to tweak it. And I haven't heard anything. So.
No.
But they paid the bills, so that's fine.
That's good. Thanks.
You got it, man.
Hi, Mr. Carpenter. Sorry, this is really high.
Hi, young lady. How you doing?
My question is more towards the acting part because I'm an actress. I just want to ask you. I really admire your work. I've seen Halloween countless of times. I wanted to ask, how did you finally cast Jamie Lee Curtis? I mean, her parents are big deals. How did you finally pick her for the role in that?
Well, she was not my initial choice in that role, but Deborah Hill, my producer and co-writer, had an idea. Jamie was a contract player here at Universal doing TV series. And so we brought her in and read her. Mm-hmm. And that sold it.
Yeah.
She was fabulous.
Okay.
She had the right combination of smarts and vulnerability, and she was pretty, and she was really nice and easy to work with.
Yeah.
And that's how we did that one.
Okay.
But reading is real important.
Yeah.
Some actors won't read. They refuse to read. Some actors can't read. I've worked with an actor who was illiterate and had to memorize. As a matter of fact, he was in the thing. Had to memorize the lines, having the script supervisor read it to him. I know a producer, a very famous producer, who's illiterate and has the screenwriters come to his house, and he sits down in an easy chair and they read their screenplay to him. And if he likes what they do, he may make the film. It's a fun business.
So do you interview? Do you ever interview your actors?
Yes.
Okay.
Every single one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see several things at once. I want to see, first and foremost, what do they look like? In person. Is there a bad angle? Is visually, how am I going to, and I'm trying to do it without doing this. And secondly, the personality. Are they open? Are they guarded about being directed, or authority figures? What do they think of the screenplay and the material? How much do they want to change? You're trying to assess all these different things real quickly. And but directors are all different in how they deal with casting. Clint Eastwood, for instance, casts off of tapes that are submitted to him. He doesn't read anybody. He just he gets a bunch of actors, put their performances on tape, on video, and he pops it in the machine. That one, not that one, that one. That's how he casts. So it's different for everyone. Depends on what you're comfortable with. I want to sit down with somebody and see if we can have a connection, because that's what acting and directing is all about. My job as a director is to be there to help you give the performance. Mm-hmm. Whatever you need as an actor is what my job is to provide. If you need a bad father, I can be mean all the time. If you need a good father, I can be that. A psychiatrist, I can confessor. It depends. It all depends on the person.
Okay.
What about you now, as an actress? What do you need from a director?
I like the interview process because I like to get to feel more comfortable with them as well.
That's the whole secret of all of it, is to everybody get comfortable.
Yeah.
Get comfortable with the guy who's directing you as an actor, and you and the director getting comfortable that you have the ability to do it.
Yeah, because people work under different kinds of environment. Like some people like working with, like you said, like a bad dad, or more calm with them, and so I think that's really important. Yeah.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hey man, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Oh, that's good. Well, you are clearly a legend within this industry. Now, I do some writing, or at least I attempt to. And I certainly look up to you. It's astonishing that you can create something that has been expressed to us within this school and within the whole concept of the industry, that you want to serialize something that for profit. You want to create something and establish a character that can live for years and years. For instance, with Halloween or Escape From, any of them, would you say that there's any particular things that you go by, rules or regulations that you like to follow to create something that can be serialized?
Oh, I see. No, I have no idea. I didn't start any of the projects out to be serialized. I guess nowadays a lot of them are. It depends on the story, man. It's all about the story. And then it's about the characters in the story. But if I got hired to write Batman, then there's an existing story and an existing character. What can I bring to it? But you can write Escape from New York. It's really, or Escape From, just pick a city. And plug it in.
Fair enough.
And use a bunch of cliches of heroes, and then off you go.
Stick with archetypes and just.
Hey, why not? And make a bunch of money.
Well, that's the goal. Maybe one day, have a job like that producer, just sitting back and have people read.
That's great, isn't it?
I mean, that's a dream.
Oh, it's awesome. You can have people bring your food.
Oh, fantastic.
Then you can listen to the guy who wrote the script, read the script, and somebody can bring you a drink and turn on the television. It's unbelievable.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, man.
Hi, I'd just like to say you really shook the pillars of heaven, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you. That's very nice.
I read that you had some problems with the studio when you were making Big Trouble in Little China. And I was wondering if you had any anecdotes for us, particularly about the character Jack Burton and how the studio felt about your take.
Well, what the studio wanted was Raiders of the Lost Ark. And my idea was that here you have this idiot white guy who drives a truck, and he's a blowhard. He's spouting off this silly shit. And all the Asians who are dealing with Chinatown and the mysticism, Chinese mysticism, and martial arts are competent, way above him. And he's way behind everybody else. And he doesn't know it. He thinks he's really cool. And, they didn't, I don't know whether we didn't communicate, but they didn't like that. And they wanted Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I didn't deliver it. My movie was really strange and weird and quirky. At one point, they wanted me to cut all the humor out of it. And so I actually sat down and made some trims on some of the scenes. And then they had a preview and came back and said, well, can you put it back in? And at the time, the studio, the biggest thing I had with them wasn't just our differences in creative approach, was the fact that they made a decision not to spend more than, at the time, was $3 million advertising a movie for a weekend. Oh, well, that's not enough. Even back in '86, it wasn't enough. They spent a lot more. Back then, it was 15 million. So it was way under. They just didn't advertise it. That was my big flaw. And then they treated me like shit, so I don't like that. You know, they were disrespectful. Disrespectful. That's not good.
No. Well, how do you feel about the, I guess, the new popularity of the film as it, translated into video? And I guess now there's so many new mediums coming out where the new film can be shown, like you were saying before. Now we can watch movies on the iPhone.
That's right.
And so now the film, I think, now has a larger cult following. And I'm wondering how you feel about the new generation of avenues for film.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, movies can last. They can last beyond their initial box office release. Now, you guys may not be aware of how many classic American films came out with bombs. Nobody liked them, and then they grew. You know, Citizen Kane wasn't a great hit. Vertigo was condemned and was a failure upon its release. In It's a Wonderful Life, that movie they show on Christmas, and it tanked. Nobody wanted to see it. It was only later that it was shown on television and in home video that it became popular again. So it's really odd what happens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Hey, Mr. Carpenter, how you
Hey,
doing?
how are you?
Pretty good. You've been talking a lot about like the business side of Hollywood and stuff, and I just want to know.
You want to talk about the girls?
Well, maybe later,
The drugs?
over a few beers or something.
Okay.
But I just want to know, where do you find a line between doing what you want to do creatively and doing what the people who write the checks want you to do?
Well, it's very tricky. It's all in your contract that you make when you make a film. You sign it. You have to negotiate the terms. What are you going to get paid as a director, and what are your creative rights above and beyond the minimum creative rights that directors have? And then your ad billing, your name, how it sizes your name. It's all this crap that you have to figure out. And what percentage of the profits, if any, do you get? So it's all in there that your power comes. If you can negotiate a contract with the most power for the director, because the issue is, it's your movie if you call all the shots and nobody changes it. It's all your film. Now, that's unrealistic a little bit in Hollywood because you've got a lot of people, not just studio heads, but actors are very powerful. They're going to want their cut. They're going to tell you what to do. Everybody wants to tell you what to do. Everybody knows better than you do. So you have to try to fight and find a place where you can have control, creative control on your films. And I was lucky because of Halloween. I was able to start demanding, leave me alone, and I'm going to do this. And that was the way I developed the career I developed, was to be able to do the movies I wanted to do. And don't talk to me about them. Don't tell me what to do. I was lucky. It's trying to find that power, leverage to get there. And I don't know. The quickest way is to have a big hit. Is to have a giant hit, and then they'll come give you what you want for a while.
Do you think they will give you more creative control if you say that you might allow yourself to get paid less, maybe?
You could try that. They'll go for it, but I don't think they'll give you that unless you have something that they really need. And there's this, got to be scared of you.
Right.
They got to be scared of you a little bit. They got to be scared. Well, if I fuck with him, he may go to another company and talk bad about my company. And it's really tricky. It's all about how much money you make them. Everything.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Carpenter. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right.
It's about the 13th time you've been asked that. I just want to know, this may seem like an oddly specific question, but there's an old industry maxim, never work with children or animals.
Uh-huh.
And obviously there's a brilliant performance, if I can call it that, from several animals early in this film in particular. I was just wondering, do you have any wisdom you would share about going against what the industry establishes as a bad idea?
It's all in the trainer and the animal that you get. We had the main dog in this was a wolf, and they're smarter, but they're a little dangerous. So on the set, he would come in, and we'd have minimal crew. We'd have the operator, focus puller, myself, and the dolly grip, and the actors. And for about 15 to 20 minutes, he would wander around us and get used to our smell. And then he said, don't pet him, don't touch him, don't necessarily look at him. Just sit here, don't talk loud, let him be with you a little bit. And then he did something in one shot I've never seen an animal do. His job, the animal as actor, was to come down a hallway, look in a room on the left, look in a room on the right, look back in a room on the left, stand there, and then go in. And we put a camera right in front of him. And we're tracking with him down the hallway. And his job also was not to look in the camera. And by God, this dog did it 7 or 8 times, just like that. It was jaw-dropping. Now, he's not with us anymore. Jeb is his name. He was not with us anymore. He was a great, great dog and a great actor. But we didn't use him in every shot. We used stand-in dogs. But the trainer brought a unique performing animal to the movie. And had I not had that dog, the movie wouldn't be as good. He was unbelievable. So yeah, animals can be really tough. Horses don't stop where you want them to. They take a shit in the middle of the scene. If you watch Westerns, you see all sorts of things go on that you took for granted when you were watching them, but you see actors they're out of control. I watch a scene in the original True Grit nowadays where somebody's about to fire a shot and you see John Wayne reach up and grab the horse he's on before the shot's fired so he knows the horse is going to bolt. So he's just thinking ahead, just trying to control it for the shot. Kids, boy, there's some great kid actors. They just come and do it, so you don't have to really worry too much. Then there's some that are troubled. It all depends, man. But generally speaking, you just don't know with kids and animals. You get the right ones, and you're all set.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, John.
How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Good.
And I know you're doing good too.
Okay.
The first movie of yours I saw was Escape from LA.
Uh-huh.
And I saw it about 4 or 5 times in theaters. And then I went and looked for all the other Kurt Russell, John Carpenter movies and saw those and loved them. And Kurt Russell and you are kind of like Scorsese and De Niro. And I'm just wondering...
We are? Why don't we get the same respect then?
To me, it's the same.
Yes.
But do you ever have any plans with working with him again, or because you just bring out the best in each other?
Well, yeah, he's great. He's a great performer, a great actor. He thinks he's old now. He doesn't want to do any more action movies. He believes some strange things sometimes. I don't know if you know about Kurt Russell, but he is to the right of Attila the Hun. I mean, he is extreme right. And I'm extreme left. But it's love of cinema and love of the craft of movies that keeps us together. So that just shows you what the important things are in life. If you love something, the movie-making process, in our case, then you can get along. You never know. That's one thing you say in this business. Never say never about anything. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Do you guys get in a lot of arguments?
Not really, no. No, we haven't. If we stay away from politics, I've seen others make the mistake with Kurt. Start blabbing. And I shut up and go away because he goes crazy.
That's interesting
Yeah,
to know.
When Kate Hudson was growing up, he'd read them, the whole thing at Thanksgiving about the blood of tyrants the soil has to be replenished with the blood of patriots. We have to take down our government. It's like, what? What? But no, he's been a friend for many years. Many years. Kurt's a great guy.
Well, thank you.
And he can imitate, and I like the thing. He can do an imitation of anybody, of any actor. He does an imitation of me. It's unbelievable. He's a born mimic. That's one of the reasons he's such a great actor, is he mimics people. It's really astonishing.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hi, John.
Hello, young lady. How are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Excellent. That's excellent.
As a director, what do you feel the pros and cons are of working with a screenwriter on set from your personal experience?
From personal experience, the two experiences that I've had with screenwriters. One was on Big Trouble in Little China, and one was on this movie I made called Memoirs of an Invisible Man. It was a Chevy Chase movie. And both times, my choice of leading lady, the writer and writers were not very happy with, and they wanted to rewrite the scenes. And in the case of Big Trouble in Little China, Kim Cattrall came to me and said, please get this guy away from me. He makes me feel like shit. He's tearing me down. He doesn't like me. He doesn't think I can play this part. He thinks of, everybody thought of Kim Cattrall at that time as sort of the girl from Porky's who could do an orgasm. They didn't take her seriously. But she's just a terrific comedian, just terrific. So I had to throw him off the set, and he's a friend of mine. And then the same thing with Daryl Hannah. She comes to play this part, and the writers start writing her like some stupid girl. And she says, what are they doing? I signed on to do this. So I just had to get rid of them. The writers want to be on the set. The Writers Guild wants the same contract that writers have in plays, where you can't change a word. And that's what they've always wanted. And they hate directors. Hate directors. And they hate people changing their words. And I don't blame them. I'm a writer. I didn't like it either, but that's the way it is. Actors will come in and say, I'm going to change that. And say whatever they want to. So it's a mixed thing, A famous story, a cautionary tale about a movie called, God, I can't remember the name of it. Patty Chayefsky wrote it. A movie with William Hurt. Was about sort of a Jekyll and Hyde thing where this guy turns into Altered States, a movie I particularly like. Patty Chayefsky was the writer of that and was on the set, and he just gave him hell because it wasn't the way he wanted it, and ended up taking his name off and changing it. And you get that sometimes. It's not pleasant.
What about in the case of Deborah Hill, where she was also your producer and co-writer?
Well, if we started working, if you get the actors to say anything close to what you write, you're happy. So in our case, it was fine. We didn't have a problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
And we actually have something very nice planned for you. We actually are going to be giving you an honorary master's degree.
Wow, huh? Hey-o. Huh? I talk to you geniuses, and I get a master's degree. Wow. This is not bad.
There you are.
All right. Thanks a lot.